So before I start, I want you all to focus on me and look at me and ask yourself, what do you see? You're right, 75% water. That's me. Water is vital, and so is food, and I'm very excited that I can talk about both. My name is Heil. I'm the CEO of the new meat company. We are based in Berlin, and we don't produce alternative proteins. We don't produce new meat on our own. We are an investment company. We are publicly listed at the Düsseldorf Stock Exchange, and we basically want to build up a huge industry holding like the Cargills, but more sustainable and better and change the world. Water. So actually my task was to talk about our company, but I think I will do that in the end because what is driving us and the purpose behind our company is much more important, and so I want to share some information with you about that. So water, on the global scale we have a big issue and big problem with water scarcity. Who are the main users, or what do we need the water for on a global scale? So the biggest stakeholder, you see it in the picture, is agriculture. Globally, there are over 3 billion people that live in agriculture areas where water is basically restricted and a very rare source. In countries like Germany and Switzerland, we have enough rainfall. We don't need that much water for agriculture. It maybe contributes to about 40%. But there are other areas in the world where water is a big issue. Ulf already told that earlier. Our planet is covered in water. 71% of the Earth is water, but only 2.5% is fresh water. And from that fresh water, we can only use around 0.5% because there's lots of groundwater we can't access at the moment, etc. So, what has water to do with our topic, with moving away from animal production and moving away from meat? So water is very important when we look at basically meat production. So I did some Google research and I lined out some numbers for you. So basically when you eat your steak, and I hope you try to restrict that as much as possible. For 200 grams of beef, we approximately need 3,000 liters of water. 200 grams of chicken, 1,000 liters of water. One egg is basically nearly 200 liters of water. So food and water is very linked closely. If we stick to a vegetarian or vegan diet, the numbers are that you can basically reduce your water footprint approximately 30%. The FAO last year published a very, very good study on water and agriculture. And basically, or the bottom line of the whole study is that when you change your diet to a more sustainable diet, you can solve or be part of the salvation of the water problem. So that's one really important question that is the driver behind our company. But there's one topic that is, even for me, one that I like to talk more about, and it's one that is definitely not in the minds of the people. That's why I want to tell you a little bit about that. It's the soil and peatlands. I know that we have many people talking about carbon emission today, but there are not so many people that know that one of the biggest carbon storages we have is the soil. So the soil basically stores twice as much carbon as the atmosphere. But much of the carbon that is stored in the soil is already released. So around half of the carbon that is stored is released since the invention of the plow. So tilling, plowing, agriculture, whenever you plow, you till your ground, the CO2 as a gas is released. So that's a big thing for our environment, a big issue. An even bigger carbon sink is peatland. And I always say, if you want to do something good, if you want to do something good for our environment, and we all know we have to do that, you should have a global, or look at the big global picture. So why is peatland so important? For example, when we look at Indonesia, they just drained a peatland area of around 10,000 square kilometers to build a big palm oil area plantage. Every day, and you see the picture here, when you drain peatland, carbon is released every day. And in this area, in Indonesia, every day the amount of CO2 that the European Union produces is released in that area. Also, when you look at Congo, which is not a very rich country, but has very good soils. Just a new peatland area was discovered. It's called Co.at Central. It's basically the size of twice Switzerland. And if you would drain that area, then you would release at once the carbon emission of the United States from the last 30 years. So that's a big topic. What has this to do with meat? So basically, why do we have so much agricultural areas we use? Why do we drain so much peatland all over the globe? It's because we have a growing meat demand on the global scale. The prediction is that till 2050, the meat market will grow about 30%. And that's very easy. So when the people get richer, and that's basically Asia, Africa, the meat demand grows. So people ask for meat because it's kind of like a little bit like a fetish. It's a meat fetish. So the wealthier you get, you want to have meat, you want to have it every day, even it's not very healthy to have it every day. So basically, we destroy our environment for meat. And you saw basically the numbers when it comes to water, the water we need. Carbon, it's the same. It's very, very carbon intense, the animal production. So, and now we have 2.5 minutes left. I want to give you some information on the alternative protein market. So the thing is, what is our solution? So I already said we want to build up an industry holding with a focus on alternative protein. So very broad focus because we want to give the people around the globe alternatives to meat. And basically our mission is, our idea is to make the alternatives even more, even cooler than the meat, because we have to look at it from a global perspective with a global scale. So if Asia, Africa, the meat demand is growing, we have to show that there are alternatives that are even better. So what is the market estimate to 2030? A.T. Kearney is the most optimistic with nearly $400 billion. It's a huge thing, but at the same time, the meat market is also growing globally. What makes sense, because we will, in 2050, we will have 10 billion people on this planet, so we need up to 70% more food. Okay, here's a little bit in the field where we swim. Here's some information on the investment landscape. I assume that most of you know the biggest player in the market at the moment, Beyond Meat, Impossible. They just announced that they closed their second 500 million funding, so they're collected 2 billion in total, most of it within the last 12 months. So there's so much going on in 2020 in the alternative meat or alternative protein market that includes milk alternatives. $4 billion were invested. So it's a huge, it's a huge movement going on, and I'm very excited about it because it means having more alternatives, giving the people more and good options to move away from animal proteins and animal products. So the last 30 seconds to get some more information on what we want to do, what our goal is. I already said or told you that we are building up some kind of an industry holding. We are listed at the Düsseldorf Stock Exchange, so we are open for everyone who wants to invest in our innovative business model. We're not a venture capital, so when you have an investment background, we are more like a very purpose-driven impact investor, private equity fund. So we look for the majority stakes in companies. we are not targeting the standard startup you found somewhere with like 10 VCs already involved, but we're looking for very purpose-driven founders, for family businesses who wants to be part of our platform and wants to become part of the big idea. Okay, my time is up. If you have questions and want to learn more about water, about carbon, about agriculture, email me. Thank you.